Good morning, everybody. I'm so glad that you're on board to join us for Talk to Me Tuesdays. I'm so happy you're here. You know, it's so funny. I always feel like it's Christmas Day because, you never know who's going to join the show. And so it's really nice to see all of you. I hope you all are able to speak. Please put on your camera so that we can have a discussion and get to know each other. And let's get started. Is everybody unmuted? Please unmute yourself. So for those of you who don't know me, and Lucy, it's nice to see you. Hi. Rodrigo, nice to see you. Mark, nice to see you. And Zoe.
Hi.
Hi, everybody. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm just going to reintroduce myself. I'm Stephanie Schantz, founder of Legal Lingua, U.S. lawyer, licensed to practice in California, currently living between Paris and Durham, North Carolina, although I haven't been to Paris in 18 months. For obvious reasons. So I'm glad you're here. Today is Talk to Me Tuesdays, and we are having our 45-minute bi-weekly discussion to talk about different issues that come up and create a community, which, by the way, I'm going to be launching more of a community in September, and I'll tell you more about that later. But today we're going to talk about our experiences in negotiation. It came up at our last Talk to Me Tuesday event, and we just wanted to share our experiences. But before we begin, I would like everybody to give a short introduction of yourselves, just so we all know who you are, where you are, and why you're here. So Lucy, let's begin with you.
Okay. Hi, Stephanie. Hi, my name is Lucy Walker. I'm an attorney at law. I'm based in Paris, and my practice is international. I do a lot of counseling, advising, less than litigation. So often I have to face negotiation, I would say. And at the present time, I have a very, very hard negotiation, and we cannot finish it. So I'm here to have some help and advice from the others. Because after 25 years of practicing as an attorney, I'm suddenly, I don't know what to do.
I know how you feel. I'm stuck in a bad negotiation right now too. Rodrigo.
Hi, hello. Good morning. Well, I'm a lawyer from Mexico, and I moved to Raleigh area in about 4 months already. And I met Stephanie here, and she introduced me to what she has been doing, and I found it very interesting. Where I focus my practice is on helping international companies to invest pretty much in Mexico and Latin America, and that's how I am.
Great. Zoe, how about you?
My name is Zoe Lemkowitz. I am in St. Louis, Missouri, in the central United States. I am a lawyer. I'm licensed to practice in both the state of Missouri and the state of Illinois. And I worked in commercial real estate for about 15 years. And then I started teaching undergraduate law courses. And about 5 years ago, I started teaching legal English courses as well, which is my absolute favorite thing to do. I love working with international lawyers or recent law school graduates. So I just met Stephanie actually recently, and she invited me to sit in on the Talk to Me Tuesday today. So I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. Yolanda, how about you?
Oh, hi. I don't speak very well English. I never work in English. I'm a company lawyer. I don't know, I think it's company lawyer. And I always work litigation, but in French, with French companies. Then I'm here because it's fabulous for me to hear English and to improve my English because I'm not so good. Okay.
Well, we're glad you're here because this is the opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
And how about you, Bonin?
Hi everyone, my name is Bonin. I'm a sport agent. I'm in Montreal actually, and like Yolande, excuse my French because my French is not very well, and I just came to get a lot of information.
Good. Well, you're in the right place. For all of you who are not comfortable speaking English, this is the place to do it in a very comfortable, relaxed way. This is not a class. We're just talking. And we're just trying to practice speaking English and give each other tips and tricks and just try to create a community here. Mark, how about you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name's Mark Levinson. I was born in the US. I've been in Paris most of my adult life and have been involved in all aspects of French, English language problems, whether that has to do with training, translating, publishing, editing. That's the whole thing. And I've been working with Stephanie, known Stephanie for a very long time, but we began working together about a year and a half ago in the development of legal.
Okay, so let's get started on our topic today. I was going to start off with my negotiation story, but Lucy's, yours sounds like it's pressing. So let's maybe start off with you, and maybe you can share something with us so we can try to all suggest different things.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. So as I said, I am negotiating a lot of contracts for my clients, and at the present time, I'm stuck in a negotiation. We cannot finish it because it's a very difficult one. I'm negotiating with a lawyer also, and it's maybe something that can interest also Bona, because my client is a TV producer and a film feature producer, and he is producing at the present time a documentary about a basket player, a French one, and he has a lawyer. And this person gave his personal authorization to be interviewed, to be filmed, but it was not written, as given this authorization to the director of the movie, and they had long talks during months and months, and it was always decided that at a certain time they will sign a written authorization, a written contract, and it was not specified for which amount of money. And for the producer, the idea was that it was given free of any remuneration, because in France, when you make a documentary and you are the subject of the documentary, most of the time you are not an author of the documentary, you are not always also a performer, so there's not a really clear status. But the guy, the lawyer, at a certain time said, okay, we want to have some money. And we said, okay. And we are now stuck in this negotiation because he wants a very, very huge amount of money. We cannot pay this amount of money. We have proposed a lot. To be clear with you, we started with 12,000 euro and now we are at 80,000 euro. Yes, which is a very... But the film, it's a 90-minute film, is about the guy. So we need to find a solution. And what is difficult is because I have faced to me, I have someone who is really always, putting deadlines, always. It's really difficult because I try to negotiate, I try to find solutions, to make compromise, to make, how can I say, find solutions. But we are also linked with other agreements my client has with partners, financial partners, and we cannot pay him what he wants, and he wants also money. We have agreed for this amount to be paid now, and he will also receive royalties from the exploitation of the film. He wants to have the royalties at the first euro, but it's not possible because we have a financer with the first, how can I say, window of reimbursement, and we explain this from the beginning, from the of the discussion, and the lawyer doesn't want to understand. The attorney at law said, okay, it's like that. You have 10 days or 8 days, sometimes 3 days to answer to us. If you don't answer positively, then we break negotiations. So each time I said, okay, this is not fair because we are discussing, talking, we try to find a solution. So I stayed, I would say, friendly, open-minded, trying to find compromise and to help. And at a certain time, I realized it was not working. So I became less friendly and more, I would say, strict and less, I would say, like him. I played this same game, but it doesn't work too. So I'm still in my negotiation and I don't know what to do. We have a deadline for June 30. So I have 1 week to find a solution and I don't know what to do.
What happens on June 30th?
Well, I don't know, because already he put deadlines, and when he did these deadlines, for instance, last one was June 1st, and I didn't reply to him because he wanted more money than the 80,000 euros, and he said, okay, the royalties at the first euro, then it's not 80,000 euro, it's 100,000 euro, and I said, it's just unfair and not possible, and we don't negotiate that. I don't know. At a certain time, the only thing he said, I will send you a formal notice that says you cannot exploit the movie. I forbid you to exploit the movie. So we think he has already given a tacit authorization, but what I have, the problem I have, because it's not written, we don't know what he agrees. You know, if my clients want, the idea is to find a streamer like Netflix or Amazon to broadcast the movie, of course. So if it's worldwide, worldwide exploitation, not only in France, not only in French language. So this, because it's not written in a contract, it can be, you know, give difficulties to my clients. Sorry for my English. So I don't know what kind of position I can have what kind of attitude I can have. If you have some tip, I would be happy to have.
Does anybody have any ideas for Lucy or any questions?
Sorry, can you change the man? Can you take another author or not?
No, we cannot, because the movie is already quite finished, because during months the guy gave a lot of interviews and accepted to be to go to shooting with the director of the documentary. So it's really about him, his story, because it's a dunker, someone who would do in basket a dunk, and he has a very nice story, because something that can be universal and can give today the guy is about 40 years old, and so now he's a teacher. He's not anymore doing events. But his lawyer is really difficult. So I tried to see if the client was, and said, no, I trust my lawyer. We know I know what he's doing. I agree with him. So I said, okay, what can we do?
Do you have any ideas for Lucy, since you're in the sports arena? Can you hear me?
Okay, excuse me, what you say, because my Wi-Fi is very, very bad.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said, do you have any advice you can give to Lucy? You're in this sports area, so maybe you can give her some tips or suggestions, or
what advice that I can give you. Like, I'm starting negotiation in sport, but only in one domain. It's on the sponsorship. That's the thing that I know better. So I can probably give you some advice on the sponsorship, but on the other aspect, not really today. Like,
I have a question, Lucy. You said you tried to be more aggressive.
Yes.
And you're saying that doesn't work either. That the other lawyer is even more aggressive.
What is surprising is we have a talk by a call and also exchange by emails. He's always very nice and very polite on emails with all the, I would say, the stuff the attorney at law can exchange, you know. So it's never aggressive, but it's really, you know, voila, he says things. And when I try to call him and to explain and maybe have talked together to find a solution, on talk he stays also polite, but he says no. He says, I have not the green light from my client. So, because always he said, okay, I will check with my client, I will come back to you. So at the beginning, I would say I followed him, and now I know. I said, okay, don't answer to me that it is possible, because you will come back to me telling me that it's not possible or that you refuse my proposal. So this is my last proposal. And for instance, for the last 3 weeks, I haven't changed my proposal. I stayed because I said it's my last offer, and we give you more because we don't have the money at the time.
You gave him your bottom line.
Exactly.
And you have until who has until June 30th to respond? You do? He rejected your bottom line and you have until June 30th?
He rejected my bottom line and 2 times came back to me with 2 counter proposals. The first one I rejected it because it was something really high in terms of money. So I stayed on my last proposal again, and he came back to me last week, and gave me a second counter proposal, less expensive in terms of money, but still more than what we can do. He said we have also agreement on the two step of the payment, because on the 80,000 euro we agreed to pay, we agreed to pay half now at the signature of the agreement, and the second part we have agreed to pay it at the latest December 31 of this year, and he wants to have this second in August, in 2 months or 3 months, 3 months. And I said it's not possible. We cannot, because my client said that I cannot pay before, and he doesn't understand that. And he said, okay, if you don't pay me the second half in August, and it's in December, it won't be 80,000, it will be 100,000. So this is like that all the time. And I said, it is not fair. It is not the way we usually negotiate. The lawyer is not a young one. It is not also an old one. So I don't know, because I've never met someone like that. Usually when we have disagreements between lawyers, at a certain time we find the solution or the compromise we can have.
First, I have a question. Like, when this person accepted to be filmed, can this be considered as agreeing to the film? Like, I mean, he had some interviews and all the stuff, and you were following him with the camera, so pretty much he's accepting to be filmed. That's the first thing I have to add to that. And the second one is maybe including some kind of royalties or as a compensation, so he takes a little bit of risk with the film, and that, so you lower whatever you're gonna pay him. And you say, like, all right, but you take some risk, and if the film is successful, you get more money. That's what I will suggest.
We already, I'm sorry, I didn't explain maybe everything. We already agreed to give him royalties, and it's not a bad percentage. It's 25% of the royalties. But yes, but it won't be paid on the first euro or dollar of royalties, because we have a financier, a co-producer that has put money to help my clients to finance his film, and this company has what we call a first priority or first right to be paid, to be reimbursed. So I have been really clear and transparent with that. At the first time I have exchanged with the lawyer, I said to him, we have already a co-producer, so if we give you royalties, it will be after the reimbursement of there's an amount of 200,000 euro, which it's an amount. So I disclosed this really at the beginning, and this is why we have agreed to pay him this amount of money now, to compensate the fact that he takes a risk, of course, with the royalties, because he will only receive royalties if it's a success, and secondly, because he won't receive any royalties at first. It will be on the second time after the first. So this is the reason why we have agreed, I would say, amount which is a little bit a lot. So what I don't know, say, how, when you deal with someone really difficult, how can you break the I don't know, the negotiation or find a solution?
Zoe, do you have any ideas?
Well, I mean, 2 things have occurred to me listening to this. So one is, if he wants 40,000, so 80,000 euros total, 40,000 euros at signing, 40,000 euros you want to pay it in December, he wants it in August for his client. Otherwise it goes to $100,000. I mean, 100,000 euros. Mm-hmm. So my thought is, what kind of return, if that 40,000 euros paid in August were invested in some way for whatever, 4 months, 3 months, whatever it is, from August to December, what would the expected return be? And then say, look, if you got the 40,000 in August and you pay and you invested it, you certainly, I don't think would get a 20,000 euro return, right? So here's what we would be willing to pay as an extra, a little bit. You know, I don't know what the rate, you know, what the opportunities would be in France or in Europe, but I'm just saying, you know, here we'll give you a little extra that you would have earned if we paid you in August and you invested it. That's one idea I had. The other idea that came to me was when Bonin was speaking about sponsorships, is there a potential for a sponsorship for the film or for the basketball player that somehow could be arranged that maybe could bridge the gap, or that you could talk to him about, look, you might have the opportunity for these sponsorships, and if you block our ability to release this film, then you're going to, because clearly his lawyer is looking at this like, you can't budge without my client's consent, because my client is the story, right? So I have you, there's an expression in English, I have you over a barrel, like a barrel, and you're like stuck on the barrel.
Yes.
You can't get off of it. So I feel like maybe that's the lawyer's position. And so I think you need to look for what are things, opportunities that his client may lose out on if the film never gets released.
It's a good idea. We thought a little of that with my clients and did not explore it because at the present time we were, you know, a little bit in this difficulty. But yes, it's a good idea because maybe we could find a sponsorship or a partnership with someone that could give him some money, because we tried to explain that it was an opportunity for that guy to be on screen, because of course there will be some promotional events, the film is released, and so it will give the opportunity to him to come back and explain his situation, his life and story. So yes, that could be a good idea to explore, maybe. Yes, thanks.
There's one solution. So
Yes.
Anybody else have anything to add to Sophie's, to Lucy's issue?
Well, I would actually, maybe. Huh?
Go ahead, Mark.
I mean, there are two variables, it seems to me, that you have to deal with. One is a time element, and the other is the amount. Right?
Exactly.
So if you could imagine those as being a little bit flexible in a discussion way. So right now you're roughly at 80,000 and a few months ahead of you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So plus you have the variable of a percentage in royalties, right? I imagine that the film will probably have a life of, let's say, 18 months. Something like that in which it can be shown or broadcast. So suppose you threw out the idea of extending the payment time over 18 months and not just 3 months. So extending the time and saying instead of 80 plus 25%, let's come to a minimum agreement of 125 over 18 months.
That could be an idea too. Yes.
Somehow or another.
Yes, yes. That's interesting. Yes. Okay. Great. I noted. Me too.
I mean, as a discussion point with the other lawyer, I mean, the other element which I have no idea about, you may or you may not, is do you know anything about your adversary, about the other lawyer? Do you have any history into how he has negotiated in the past with other people? What sort of agreements he's started with and what sort of agreements he's ended up with, you know?
It's a good question. I did, as I I do usual when I don't know the lawyer. So I go on Google and I try to find information about him. And I found some, but not a lot. And I have no lawyers that know him. So that it's difficult. It's something difficult, huh? Because
I can
I'm sorry
appreciate
to
that.
interrupt, but I wanted to ask you, are you speaking the same language? Are you speaking French?
yes, in French, yes, we are in
Okay.
French. He's a French one too. It's the lawyer is French, Dunker is French, but it's an international movie. It's dedicated for the international audience. Yes, I tried to have information, but I did not have. So it was a little bit surprising, you know.
Right.
Do you all try to, it's a good question, Mark. When you try a negotiation with someone, do you first make some research about the counterpart?
I think we try to have as much background information as we can.
Yolande, what do you do when you enter into a negotiation? Do you look for that person's background? Do you try to find out who they are?
Yeah.
How do you do that?
You look about the internet and you try to find their field of competence, and you find in the field. You find, yes, something. It's a good way to understand perhaps his way of working.
Right. Rodrigo, do you do anything in particular when you begin a negotiation?
Yeah, I do research the other party, that's for sure. And I like to know what's my acceptable minimal of what I'm gonna put on the table. And of course, I don't start with that. I start with something like the best for me. And yeah, but you have to know when to stand from the table also if there's no working. And in this particular case, I don't understand what part, like the other party is putting all the deadlines, so I guess they are in a hurry to close the deal more than you are, so the time is on your side. So what I will say is just relax. Like if they really need to close the deal, they will start lowering their expectations. And if you have that feeling, I won't be so much in a rush, because they are putting the deadlines. Why are they putting the deadlines? Because they know they can lose it, and they. Oh, what I see is both parties have too much money on the table already. You already did the filming, but they have no money yet, and they already spent time with the crew by being filmed and everything. So yeah, I will. It's just so strange that they are pushing the deadline so much. So I will say that you could maybe use that on your favor.
That's what I was thinking. I thought, why are they pushing the deadline? Shouldn't you be pushing the deadline because you want the film to be released?
Well, you know that the film is on the process to be finished, but there's no release date because it's not for film feature. It was dedicated for film feature at the beginning, but because of the COVID crisis, they changed the plan and decided to present it to a streamer. And yes, I think they are in a rush to have money. And
Yeah,
the last two times I had deadlines, I did not reply before the end of the deadline because I didn't want to play his game, and it was a way to say not on your power, I would say, and so he was not very happy with that. And last time I didn't accept his send an accusal of receipt, and he sent me a reminder just to follow up to be sure that you mail and say yes, I received it.
So he's actually in a weaker position because, as Rodrigo indicated, they need the money for whatever reason, and they're spending the money on the lawyer's fees instead of using it for that individual himself.
Exactly.
So I think you have a stronger position than you might feel you have, because you don't have a deadline to release the film.
Yes, exactly. It's true.
And also it occurs to me, you know, what's the worst thing that happens if you release the film without, you know, having reached an agreement with him and paying him, right? So his lawyer sends a cease and desist, tells you you can't circulate the film. If the Dunkers story is really a compelling one that would make him be viewed as somebody to be admired or someone to be recognized, you know, if this becomes part of the story that he's trying to block the, you know, release or circulation of the film, that could reflect negatively on him. It also could reflect negatively depending on how it is presented on the producers of the film as well. Like, you know, they did this and never paid him, but I don't know. I mean, I'm just wondering.
You're right. Sorry, I interrupt you.
No, it's okay. That's all.
We have made, I did this analysis to my client because my client, of course, is on stress and pressure. So I need also to to deal with him. And it's what I said to him. He has given is a tacit authorization because he allowed the director. The story is not, it was public because at a certain time in the past, we had articles, newspapers about him and the context. So the movie is not disclosing any private or any information that is not known by the public. So there is nothing, and it's a very nice movie and really, you know. So what we said is, I said to my clients, if he doesn't, if he blocks the film at a certain time, we release it and let's see, and let's go to the court and let's see if he wants more money, he will have to explain why. So exchange of emails and all that stuff together that will show that we try to find a solution. We propose, we were fair in the negotiation. It was really important for me because at a certain time my client wanted to make some, you know, like when you are angry you say, oh, finish this negotiation, and I said no, we need to stay in the negotiation, we need to be fair until the end, even if it doesn't finish well, but we need to be without any reproach, you know, because if we go on a court, we have to say, okay, look, we are very nice people.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I think
I feel very happy to hear your feedback because you know, at a certain time I'm also stuck in the negotiation. So I try to also take time to analyze all the situations. So this is great to exchange with others. And
sometimes when you're in it, you can't really see it, and we're at a distance, so we can take other aspects and other angles and visions towards it.
You know, in France, we have an expression. It means you turn your mouth 7 times in your before you reply, and it's something I try all the time. You know, take some time. Don't reply to him too fast, too quickly, because it will be too emotional.
I'm not very good at that. Anybody else have something to contribute, either with Lucy or another story that you'd like to share, or something that's bothering you or on your mind?
Now, let me just add one last comment,
Go ahead, Mark.
Lucy, and it has to do with percentages, because maybe there's something to be done on your side to discuss the percentage of risk taken by your client and by them, so that the producer is also taking a risk. He doesn't know for, you know, the amount that he's going to be able to sell this documentary for. So he's got a risk. He's got a risk too. So if somebody says, well, you know, I need 100,000 for this, and you say, yeah, but we don't have it because we haven't sold it yet, and there is a risk as to how much we can sell it for. So can we come to an agreement on sharing risk and then valuing the risk?
Yes. That's great. Sharing risk. Great
idea. That's very good.
Yes, it's clever. It's really interesting. Yes. I need to exchange with my clients.
We're recording this, Lucy, so if you forget any of the suggestions, you can always look at the recording.
Great. Yes, I will, of course. Yes, watch it.
So I wanted to share a story. Maybe you guys can help me. I've been advising a friend of mine who's a lawyer in a negotiation that's adversarial. So there's no continuing relationship that they want to happen. In fact, they're settling a dispute. And my friend was very frustrated because he wasn't able to get them to come to, they went from, I forget, a really high number of, let's say, I don't know, I'm making up a number, $1 million down to 350,000 to settle the dispute. But the opposing party says, no, we're not going to settle it. So this is in litigation, and they're trying to, the opposing counsel is going through the steps of the litigation, which is costing money for the lawyers. And they say that the client has no money, but they keep spending money on the lawyers to go through the process of litigation. So I suggested to my friend that you give them a bottom line and say, okay, because they're at, I don't know, again, I'm guessing 100,000. You came down from 1 million to 350. Tell them, start, we won't start negotiating with you until you come up to this certain number, which I think, let's say it was 200,000. And they wouldn't accept it. So now they're spending more money on going through the process of litigation, taking depositions, which are testimonies from witnesses, and they're getting closer and closer to a court date, which we know never happens in the US because most things settle. So at some point it's going to settle. But what can we do to move that along? Any ideas? To get from, I think their last number was 150,000, and my friends, I think he offered 350,000. So there's a $200,000 difference.
Well, there's the old split the difference argument where you say, all right, I'll come down 100,000, you come up 100,000.
I think my friend said they'd be willing to do that, but the other side said, no, we won't even go up 50,000. But they're spending money on the lawyers because it's a big law firm, and big law firms, they have lots of associates to pay for and the partner to pay for and the team, the deposition team to pay for.
Is it a contingent fee type of case?
I think so, yes. My friend is doing a contingent fee, but the other side, they're paying for the big law firm.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. So the other side has money to burn apparently on lawyers.
Well, they say that they don't have any money, which is
why. Okay. That's the side that says they don't have any money.
Right.
Interesting. Well, has that been raised? Like, look, at the end of the day, you're going to spend far more than the settlement amount. If you keep paying the lawyers, it's costing you more, with every billable minute. So,
no.
Can you estimate about where you think the fees would be if you got to trial?
Oh, yeah.
And then say, are you going to spend this on lawyers, or are you going to spend this to end this, or spend less than that to end it?
Right. I don't know. I think that's,
I don't know.
We've been thinking about that and trying to figure out how much it would be for them to pay for the lawyers. But I don't know if the lawyer is going to tell their client, you're going to spend more on me than you will on the settlement.
Well, of course not. Yeah.
No.
But if depending on, two things. Are the lawyers being paid in the traditional way, or is there some kind of barter happening? Because I one time had a negotiation with it was a very small situation, but suffice it to say that I represented a creditor, and the debtor probably really didn't have any money. And it turned out and I sort of raised why are we spending all this time with the lawyer representing the debtor? And he said, well, I collect cars, and the debtor was like a mechanic, and I collect cars, and so he makes it really easy for me to get my cars licensed. So like in the US, you have to have your car inspected in order to get a license plate for it, and it has to meet certain minimum standards set by the government. So the implication was maybe his old antique cars don't meet those standards, but his client will do him a favor and say that it did so that he can get them licensed.
Right.
which is not ethical, which raises a whole other bunch of issues. But the implication was essentially that he's not paying me in cash. He's, reimbursed, or, and maybe they have this ongoing relationship and he's like, I'm doing a favor for him or something like that. So I don't know if that's something you can figure out if they're, sort of being paid not in cash, and not necessarily something unethical, but just, is that why they're able to weather the storm?
I don't know. That's a good idea. Maybe we can try to do some of our own research and see what we can come up with.
Is somebody's brother-in-law's sister's cousin, so they're doing it as a favor, or well, you could just ask them, are they doing it pro bono?
Right. I don't think so, but go ahead. Yeah. Was it Rodrigo?
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I was late, Stephanie. This was in my. I was confused about when this was in my diary.
No problem. We're glad that you, Chris.
So it came to it late. And it sounds like I teach negotiation and case analysis. So a bit of the theory here might help in the situation you're talking about around the idea of the difference between positions and interests. So I suppose in what you're talking about is the position is very firmly about, I'm not going to pay X amount of money, or I'm not going to pay any more money. So, but if you actually look at you have to look behind that. So you have to look at what the interests are. And the interests, well, in this particular case, without knowing much detail, the interest might be, to get a deal done. So that's the interest. That's what they actually want to do, regardless of the money. So I suppose, I mean, it's not a magic bullet or anything like that, but it gives you a framework by which you can look at what are the interests of both sides. And normally in a business negotiation, the interest of both sides is to reach some kind of deal, because Bob wants to sell shoes and Tracy wants to buy shoes. There's normally some deal to be had. The position is often more fixed, so in this case money, but it may be then that you can look at other areas where you can where you can move your position to meet other interests. So I mean, in this situation, it doesn't sound like there's much else other than money, but there might be something else that can be offered there, some of giveaway.
Well, I think you're right. I think at some point both parties want to conclude this. It's been going on for 3 years. You know how litigation is, especially in the US. So, I mean, I think somebody's really exhausted. I mean, I feel like both sides are kind of exhausted and that we have to keep going through this. I've only gotten in on this in the last bit, but this is from what I understand.
Yeah.
And
the other thing is, as well, is if it doesn't, I mean, if both sides have to, walk away from negotiation in general, then that's when you look at, I think somebody mentioned before that talking about, worst, Batner and Watner, worst case to an agreement, and best case to an agreement. And then, and that's what both sides really have to look at then is, what's the worst that happens if I just walk away from this? Interesting talking about legal fees. There was something in the Law Gazette here in England about somebody who's just that they won their claim for £10. It was nominal damages, but they got expenses of £200,000. So happy lawyers, I suppose, a fairly happy claimant, really, although they won on a point of principle and they won £10, and the other side wasn't happy at all because they just paid for a lot of lawyers. But anyway,
Right. I think, I have to look into that to see if the lawyer's fees would be paid.
I was just going to say, Stephanie, who's paying the lawyer's fees if you litigate and there's if the prevailing party gets their fees paid by the other side? And then, of course, who has the better, the stronger, what are the odds of success if they go to trial?
I think it's about a 50. On the conservative side, it's a 50-50 chance. I think on the positive side, it's about a 70% chance for the person I've been working with, so that they would win.
Yeah.
So maybe 60%. Anyway, but thank you for your tips. Anybody else have something to add or want to contribute to the discussion about negotiations in general, or to continue the conversation in any way? Well, Lucy, I hope we helped you in some way.
Yes, I will tell you. I will send you a follow-up. It will move in the following days. So
Let us know. I can't post it on LinkedIn, but I think we'll all be curious.
okay, it was nice to have you. Maybe take a lot of time on your session.
No, this is exactly what we want. We want to develop this community and get people from all across the globe to come in and speak in English and meet each other and support each other when we can, and just have a casual exchange in a friendly environment. So before we leave, does anybody have any suggestions for a topic in 2 weeks? Our next one is in 2 weeks, which I think is July 5th.
That's just a last question before everybody's gonna leave. When you talk about to be more aggressive when you're on the negotiation, can you guys give me like 3 points that is gonna be pertinent, like I said in English, when to be more aggressive, but not to feel aggressive?
So wait, you want to be aggressive, but not be perceived as being aggressive. Wow, so that's what we call passive aggressive, which means that you're being aggressive, but you don't want everybody to know exactly that you're doing that in a direct way, in an indirect way. Any suggestions for Bernard to be passive aggressive?
Yeah, because I can look like some of the time when I'm on a negotiation, I can look like I'm very like on the negotiation, but sometimes I think you have to be like straight to the point, but it means more aggressive, but to still on a low, like I say.
I agree with you. People think that I am, very cool and very calm, but pretty much I hate to lose, and I'm impatient. So then I start, really going, I get really aggressive. Lucy, how about you? Or Yolande, anybody?
I would say I try not to be in the emotion. If I want to be more aggressive, I think I prefer to not reply or answer immediately, take some time, analyze my option, and then send the message, I would say, in a way more aggressively, because it needs to be cold, I would say. I really don't like to lose. And so I prefer to stay cold.
So be more cold.
Yes.
Less friendly.
Less friendly, and take some time to answer that. Not, as I said, and also the game of the other part. So not be, if they ask you to an immediate answer, not to respond immediately.
Good.
I think you can be, I mean, I hate passive aggression, and it's a really British thing as well. But I think you can be quite sort of, you can be forceful and clear about what you want, and still be, sort of happy, and you don't have to be grumpily passive aggressive. I think personally, I don't think it sort of gets anywhere. It's better just being upfront.
Do you suggest being more direct?
Yeah, more direct. Yeah, I think like I sort of half joked about before. I think in England we're sort of famous for not saying, perhaps in the States people are more forceful, more direct. In England it's a bit more passive, a bit more mealy mouthed, shall we say? But I think it's better just to be, just to be upfront and say what you want to say. If it's a business negotiation or something along those lines, you're not going to offend anybody. You can still be friendly afterwards.
That's right. That's right.
I would like to. I think that's a quite interesting subject, maybe for the next time, how different it is negotiations around the world. I can tell you from my experience, it's quite different negotiating something in the States than in Mexico, than in Brazil. And people is like totally different. Like in Mexico, if you don't start with a joke, you won't get a deal. For real.
Oh.
For real. You need to sit and do some joke and say like, hey, blah, 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 chit chat, whatever. If you don't start with that, you won't get any deal. And here in the States, the other way around, you have to sit up. Well, you have to be friendly, but you go straight to the point. And in Mexico, you see the point like 3 hours into the meeting. Nobody's talking about the deal. So everybody's like, how's your children? How blah, blah, blah. So it takes more. I mean, It's quite
Leonardo,
interesting.
go ahead then, Rodrigo.
One more thing, if some of you are very familiar with ideas of how to negotiate, I can suggest you one book I read a long time ago. It's called Getting More of What You Want. I will share the link, and it's good because you have some idea of what is your minimal outcome, the minimal possible outcome. You can stay there, and if it goes lower than that, you have to stand up from the table, but you have to be very clear from that. So before you sit on the table, you have this checkbox or key points of what's your minimal and what you're willing to conceal to the other party, and that actually works everywhere in the world.
To do before you get into the negotiation.
Totally. Otherwise, if the other party is very hard on you and you don't have very clear ideas on where you're standing, you will lose. That's the outcome, the most possible outcome.
Okay.
So Stephanie, maybe a session on cross-cultural differences could be interesting.
I think so too. Maybe we can do that the next. Okay, I think we should wrap up now, but I want to thank everybody for coming and joining us today, and I hope to see you in 2 weeks. And as I mentioned before, we're building a community, and I really love all of your participation to stick with us and to be a part of the Legal Lingua community. We'll be, releasing the details about what's coming up, but just, follow us on LinkedIn and see all the things that are happening. And just so glad to meet all of you and see you from all across the world today. And thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Thanks, Stephanie.
See you in a couple of weeks.
Good luck, Lucy.
Thank you. I will.